Okay, so when we're learning, because the section has to do with combining like terms. So you have combining like terms, and then we also have where we need to know our order of operations, that we have to simplify something first and then combine like terms. So there's a little bit of mixture of what we just took a test on, and then taking it further, now we have variables. Where with the stuff you guys tested on, you didn't have any variables. You just had numbers that you needed to know the order of operations to get to. So now they throw in algebra, which is variables. Okay? So if we were looking at this picture, and I asked you how many cool ducks there are on that page, what would you tell me? 5. Okay, so really what we're naming is something that is the same, right? All of them are the same. So in algebra, they assign variables to them. So really, these are all x's. And we're combining like terms to see how many x's we have. Okay, and you just said 5. So we have 5 x's. Okay, how many silly Broncos do we have? 2. Okay, so that would be assigned a different variable because a Bronco is not a duck, and a duck's not a Bronco. One of them's cool, one of them's not. Okay, so we have 2 y's. So when we combine them, we don't combine these together, okay, because we're talking about apples and oranges, ducks and horses, okay, so we don't combine them together. All we do is we look at the number of how many of those do we have, and that goes in the front, okay. We don't, square this or take it to the 5th power, okay, when we're just combining like terms. We just count how many there are, put the number in front, and then label it with the variable, okay? All right, so something a little bit different. You're not writing anything right now. Okay, now I can't say the same thing. I can't say how many ducks do we have because there's different types of ducks up there. Okay, so we'll say the duck with the glasses. How many ducks with glasses do we have? 5. Okay, so I'm going to keep it the same. I'm going to say these are all x's. Okay, we just said we have 5 x's. Okay, we still have ducks up there. Okay, so there's still x's, but now they're a different kind of x. They have I'm going to say this is a number 2 duck, a number 2 duck. So there's still x's, okay? But now we can only combine the like ones that are the same. Okay, so how many do we have thumbs up ducks? 2. Oh, I have 2 of the, my board's jumping. 2 of the x squares, okay? So when we combine like terms, I don't change that to x to the 4th, which is what people like to do when we're adding. So they like to add the exponents. Again, when you're adding, you don't do anything with what you're looking for. It's just the numbers that are in front. Okay? So they were both still ducks, but they were different ducks, and we still only add the numbers in front. Okay. Now, starting our first problem. So write number 10 down. We're starting with number 10. So 7x minus 4y minus 4x plus 7y. Okay, so it's like our ducks and our Broncos. We have x's and we have y's. Okay, so you only look to see what is the number in front. Okay, so in this one, it's saying I have 7x's here, and then over here it says I have a minus 4x. So the x's are the same. Okay, so we're going to combine 7x and a minus 4x. Remember, we don't do anything with the variables. Okay, they just help me group to know which ones are the same. I only add and subtract the numbers that are in front. So 7 minus 4 would give me a negative, or not negative, a positive what? 3. So I have 3 x's. Not doing anything with the variables. Okay, so now same thing. Now we look at the y's. Okay, so I have a negative 4y and a positive 7y. Okay, so I'm not doing anything with the y's, it's just the numbers in front. How many do I have of that? 3. Okay, so I still have 3 y's. And then at this point, you can't go any further, because now you have ducks and Broncos. You can't combine those together. It's just the numbers that are in front of how many of those we have. You're going to remember this? Yes, I hope. Okay. Okay, so next one. And again, this is starting simple. We'll build on it. Okay. of x's and y's, but different kinds of x's and y's. So negative 4 plus 6x squared y plus 5xy plus 2x to the second y plus 7xy plus 3. Okay, still the same thing, like terms. I'm just going to go left to right. Okay, so we've got a negative 4, and I'm looking for another one that doesn't have any variables, which would be all the way over here. Okay, so I have a negative 4 and a positive 3, which would give me negative 1. Okay, so that's done. So now I'm going to go to the next one over. So I'm doing an x squared y. So I'm looking for another x squared y, and there's another x squared y. So I have a positive 6x squared y and a positive 2x squared y. So how many x squared y's do I have? 8. Again, I don't do anything with the variables. Just combining and adding the numbers in front. Okay, and then the only thing that's left is the xy and the xy. Okay, so I have a positive 5xy and then a positive 7xy. Which is what? 12xy. Okay, so at this point we can find our like terms, but the way that it's written right now is not proper notation. Okay, so when we write these, you write them alphabetical, okay, from the largest exponent down to where there isn't an exponent. Okay, so alphabetical, well, I have 2 of them that have an xy and an xy. So the first one that has to be written is the largest exponent. So that means that I'm writing this one because this has 2 and this one has a 1. Okay, so I'm writing that one first. So 8x squared y is my first one. Okay, then down to the next one, so plus 12xy, and then down to where there is no exponent. That is your proper notation of how to write it. Okay, so you can alleviate some of that by when you start combining like terms, maybe look up there at the very beginning and say, okay, which one has the greatest exponent, and start there. So you just write your answer there. Okay, so you would start with the x squared y first, okay, then the dotted ones, and then the other one. Okay, but if not, just make sure you change it. Okay, so that's only the adding and subtracting. Okay, so ready? Okay, 2 more. It's number 3. So I have a negative 3xy to the third minus, and then in parentheses, a negative xy to the third. Okay, so we cannot combine like terms yet until you have simplified any order of operations that needs to happen. So this next one's going to have more than just that. Okay, so we have parentheses, which there's nothing inside the parentheses that we need to do. Okay, there's none that have like exponents that we need to multiply next to. Okay, so then the next thing is multiplying and dividing. Do we have a multiply and divide? Kind of yes, kind of no. You remember this is one when we had the double negative, there's 2 ways to look at it. I can think of this is really a negative what? 1 that you times and go through, so that would be multiplication. Or when we have a double negative, it changes to a positive because it's an adding, it's subtracting a negative. So depending on which way you're looking, you could say this is multiplication, because a negative times a negative will change this to a positive. Okay. Or subtracting a negative changes it to a positive. So you got to check to make sure there's not any simplifying that needs to happen before you combine like terms. So this one needed to be simplified. Okay, so are they like terms? Yes. Okay, so now I have a negative 3 and a positive what? 1. So a negative 3 and a positive 1 would make it a negative 2. Okay. And again, don't do anything with the variables. Only time you do something with the variables is if you were like multiplying or dividing or doing the exponents or something like that, which this one did not have. Golden? Okay, last, I think it's the last one. So number 9, 6x plus 5 times x minus 3 in parentheses. Okay, so we cannot start combining like terms until we have simplified this. So there's nothing inside the parentheses that we can combine. There's no exponents, but there is a multiplication. Okay, so we need to distribute that 5 first before we can start combining like terms. So I've got 6x plus 5x minus 15. Okay, now I can combine like terms. Okay, so 6x and 5x would give me 11x, and then there isn't another one to combine it with, and we have it in descending order, so it's alphabetical, which x is the only one, largest exponent down to where there is no exponent, and 15 didn't have it. Okay, so these two objectives are just combining like terms, and then the other objective is simplifying it before you combine like terms. Okay, let me double check to make sure that's the last one. Yeah, it was. Okay. So anything else that use that tomorrow or the lessons because I doubt you really need to look at it for today. So you'll cross off the 4 that we did together on your notes, and then you'll do the rest. Okay. If you want to hand it in before we do that, otherwise just don't lose it in the meantime before we come back on Tuesday. Okay.